All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Heart
Hello.
and Soul Connected with my wonderful guests that are with me today. We have Dr. Ann coming in very early on a Sunday morning in New
Morning.
Zealand. And we have wonderful Helen, Irish Granny Tarot, coming in also, but not on Sunday with me here on Saturday. So there we
Yeah.
go. It's
Thank you,
still, this
Aley.
is early for me. So
Tell me
yeah,
about it.
this
Tell
is
me
early.
about
For
it.
me.
You for being early on your Saturday,
Absolutely.
Aley.
Absolutely. So we don't have a lot of people here just yet, but that might give us an opportunity for you to talk a little bit about your channel, Anne, and
Yeah,
also
sure.
for Helen to do same thing. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about what's going on with you.
Sure. Me first. Hey,
Mhm.
kia ora koutou katoa, ko Dr. Ann Simpson, toko ingoa. So I just said, hey, nice to meet you all in a formal way. My name's Dr. Ann, and yeah. So I'm an Ammer Kiwi Ammer down in New Zealand, and an academic, but I also have a spiritual side to myself. So I found these fabulous people to be with, and I've created a little channel, and it would be wonderful if you popped and subscribed and said hi. I've got real short videos in there just at the very beginnings of my channel. It's youtube.com/@DRANN777. I've even, I call it about the space in between. I'm looking at quantum entanglement and what that means in terms of spirituality and AI and all those kinds of things. So I have little videos in there at the moment. So yeah, and one day I'll get live, and I would love to have you both as guests.
Of course, you got it, girl.
and of course you in the community out there, and hey
Uh-huh.
everybody. So yeah.
So Dr. Ann has been on with me 5 or 6 times over the last year or so. And we've been trying to get together now for months, but everything seems to either she had COVID and I didn't feel good. And so anyway, but we love working together. We always have a show called Two Spiritual Academics where we just sort of chew on some things. So that's congratulations on your new channel, Ann. And yes, everybody, please give her the love. And I would be remiss not to let our Helen talk a little bit about her channel and what she does.
Thanks, Aley. First of all, Dr. Ann, what are you a doctor of?
In education. I'm an educationalist.
Because
so,
I was terrified it might be physics. And then I
oh God, no. But you know what? The physics people are the coolest ones. Those are the ones that are into quantum entanglement. I mean, there's a book that we reviewed that actually was basically case studies on physicists who are really spiritual. So there's a thing.
You and I, we need to talk.
Yeah, we do.
The new science, the new science of heaven.
Yes. Plasma.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
So, and was that a Maori greeting?
Yes.
Oh, love it. When I need to be cheered up, I watch hakas.
Oh, yes. They're phenomenal. Aren't they amazing?
There's nothing like the All Blacks doing a haka. And I
don't
sports, not interested, but oh my God.
It's very stirring, isn't it? Yeah.
Let's change the subject before this gets R-rated. So, I have a channel, Irish Granny Tarot, and a Substack, Ask Your Irish Granny. And I do an advice column, but I need more problems. So send me your problems.
Boy, I just had a whole bunch, Helen.
Pardon?
I just had a whole bunch of problems, Helen.
I know, but you darn it, you solved them. And I'm no good at any kind of technological advice, so don't even waste your time. So it's magic, right? Dark magic. Yeah, so I take questions at irishgrannytarot@gmail.com. And my channel, we do a book once a week. I synopsize. I try really hard to convince legitimate authors and academics and people of what would you call them, pundits, to come and talk to somebody called Irish Granny Tarot. It takes quite a bit of negotiation sometimes. I basically stalk people for a really long time until I wear them down and they give up and they come. I'm not kidding. But yeah, you know, we cover metaphysics, we cover quantum physics, we cover
Politics.
Progression,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I started out doing political tarot.
Yeah.
And I do it all the time still. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And thank you, Aley.
Oh, you're welcome, sweetheart. Oh, no.
Thank you.
Helen and I have done a lot of shows together as well, and we
Yeah.
really enjoy each other. So I said, let's bring the triad in together today.
Yes.
Anne and I, we've been trying to get together with Anne, Dr. Anne. So I'm so glad it could work out. And thank you, ladies, for being here with me today.
It's like the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right. So
Now we have to argue about who's God the Father, right?
Thanks.
Thanks to those who are already here, Craig and Willow and Martha and Carolyn and Peter. And anybody that I missed, I shouldn't have missed anybody, but if I did, Sandy Nagel, I don't know if you're here. You have a reading question, honey. And really, this is more of a discussion show. We're going to be talking today about time slips and the Mandela effect, and whatever else comes up in the mix. Something that I really, really feel is I'm a big time travel nerd. I love time travel. I always wanted to travel in time. And I heard that, there are people that have done so in their minds. But then I found a man named Andrew Basaggio, who is a lawyer here in Seattle. And he ran for president in 2016. And he is a chrononaut, which means he traveled in time when he was a little boy. And he says he and Barack Obama, who was Barry Soetoro at the time, because everybody called him Barry, Soetoro was his stepfather's name, traveled to Mars together.
I've heard about this. Where did I hear about this? Did he write a book?
He has not written a book, I don't think, but I believe he's got a lot of YouTube stuff going on here.
No, it's been in somebody's book. Yeah.
It has.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was watching some of him talking with somebody on one of the YouTube videos, and they were talking about the Mandela effect. They were talking about time slips. They were talking about time travel. And I thought, this is just something you don't see very often discussed. And so I think I sent you guys, I don't know if you watched it or not, Helen, but I know Anne did. I sent you some videos. So I'd like to start there and get your reaction to what you saw, Anne, and what you thought about it. Did you feel it was enough evidence, or do you think it was well done?
I thought it was really interesting. So what I received from you was the last in a series, I think, of 5 or 6 podcasts about time slips, and he summarized it in this last hour of the podcast, and I would listen to it, and I found it quite interesting. Basically, just for those folks in the community, he talks about how time slips, for example, the Mandela effect, how I can ask you this question. Some of you might remember the tagline from Star Wars where Darth Vader is saying something very significant to his son for the first time. Uh-huh. And what is it? Is it, Luke, I am your father? Or is it, I am your father, when he tries to, after he cuts off his hand and then he falls? I don't know if you guys remember that from the Star Wars series. Anyway,
I didn't see
so his whole point there is there's this collective memory, but also aside from that, and I could be getting all my wires crossed. It's really early in the morning and I haven't had enough coffee. But anyway, so what's happening there is that there's collective memory. What's that? Is that a collective kind of time slip thing? Is it Mandela effect? Luke, I am your father, warrior girl. Yeah.
Is that what he said?
No, he said, I am your father. There was no Luke in the beginning, but us collectively.
Yeah, we all remembered it as
the community is Luke. Yeah, adding the name Luke. And so there's other examples of it. And I actually pulled up some research papers on this.
Me too. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And one of them was, it actually pulled up a bunch of examples, like a Pokemon. So it was going on the visual memory of people, the collective visual memories of people. And it was a case study, and they pulled up multiple participants and asked them to compare images. Like, for example, on the Monopoly box, is it the man with the monocle or without a monocle, the rich man with the top hat? Do you folks remember with the monocle or with that one?
I hate Monopoly.
I know.
Yeah, I
remember him with the monocle, but that's Mr. Peanut. That's actually
Mr.
Peanut.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember somebody with a hat, but I don't, no detail.
He had a hat.
So it's a top hat. So, but the thing is that there's this kind of shift between the long-term and short-term memory when you're looking at images. And then and so all these papers I was looking at were actually commentaries based on people's recollection, what they found, the results of this, and then also summarizing, okay, so this is a phenomenon, this is a thing, and it has something to do, we think, with short-term and long-term memory without getting too techie about the biological blah, 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 and synapses and all that stuff. So the podcast, Aley, summarized this, but also spoke, or maybe I'm getting my wires crossed, and please correct me, Aley, about time slips being caused by phenomena.
Well, remember you remember the old butterfly effect idea, where if you went back in time and you killed a butterfly, I think it was, that everything forward would change.
Was that Ray Bradbury, his short story?
This one's actually that I can't remember the name of the movie that I saw, but it was
there was a movie about it. Yeah,
and it was like they went back to cave people time, and they did it. And then everybody in every generation forward, there was a significant change, small change, but a significant one. So what they're saying is, are we remembering something that didn't exist? Or maybe it doesn't exist anymore because something changed that was in time. So for instance, the Mandela effect was named after Nelson Mandela. And the reason it is because people thought he was dead.
Who thought that? I was shocked to read that.
Somebody made a rumor and it actually got publicized.
Yep. So when he got out of jail, and then he was going to go home and he ended up being the prime minister or the leader of South
president of South
People
Africa,
are like, oh, I thought he was dead. And there's a lot. Don't you hear that a lot? I hear that a lot.
No.
Like, oh, I thought he was dead. Like Neil Armstrong. He was alive for many, many years, but a lot of people thought he was dead too.
The only people I see anymore other than my friends on YouTube are my neighbors, and none of them is interested in anything remotely outside the county. I doubt most even know who Mandela was.
Maybe not.
Oh dear. Yeah.
It's interesting. Now, the dog ate my homework, and so I didn't look at the video you sent because I did try to find it last night and I couldn't find it in my emails. But you can put me on detention. That's okay. I'm used to it.
You're fine.
I do know from a different angle, from the area of true crime, and eyewitnesses are notoriously unreliable. I've seen studies done that actually showed, uncontrolled studies. Everybody is in a classroom and they walk a person through the room really quickly while the teacher is teaching. Just a guy comes in and out, drops off a paper, and then they ask, can you describe him? And it's wild how different people's remembrance is.
There's actually one with a group of kids playing basketball, and they want you to, when you're looking at it, they say, how many times did it bounce? So you're watching it and you're watching that ball, and then afterwards it said, did you see the monkey? And there was like this first time I didn't see the monkey. See the monkey.
Well, it's got to do with focus, short-term and long-term memory and how that works physiologically. But there's also, which I think is actually more interesting, is the psychological effect of two things. Once you've made up your mind that you remember something a certain way, it embeds itself and becomes the memory. But also it can be affected before you embed it. It can be affected by things other people say.
Yes.
It's just fascinating. I could never be on a jury.
Which is why it's so scary. But this is why it's so scary, because when somebody repeats something over and over again, even if it's wrong, and we know who does that, then these people really believe. They really believe what they hear.
Well, you know, Dr. Stephen Hassan, he wrote The Cult of Trump. I'm pointing in his book. The Cult of Trump. He, you know, has looked at this phenomenon extensively, the brainwashing, propaganda, mind control thing.
Yeah.
And it is really terrifying how easily manipulatable we are, and how malleable our memory is, how unreliable it is. It's frightening. You're right. It is frightening.
Yeah. Well, and then also the other thing is too, we are all victims in it, even in Facebook and YouTube. They actually have people who do the programming and coding to be able to manipulate and go for the dopamine receptors, you know, kind of like a drug, you know, for us. There have been studies on that and the research on that. Same with gaming machines and games that you see. I have a friend who works in the gaming industry in Nevada, and she was telling me, look how these are all designed. They're designed to look very similar. So when somebody's sitting there, you know, hitting the button for the gaming machine, they get confused about what that icon represents. Or, you know, if it's a handsome man, but then there's a slight alteration and it's a handsome woman, but they look really similar, but one's $50 and one's $100, right? So they actually manipulate you through the design of the icons in the gaming machines. So we are all being manipulated in all kinds of ways, in particular with the media side of things. Yeah, through the cookies and through, you know, profiling you and the algorithms that they write into the code to create a world and provide you content that they think that you're going to want, to provide the advertisers that are bespoke to your kind of deal, to your user behavior, right, over time. So, so there's a lot. And then the other thing I was going to say too, Helen, that made me think
of it. Yeah, the psychology.
Exactly. Yeah. And schemas. So we truncate, you know, there's, you know, schemas.
What is that?
Wait, Aley, who's a person that came up with it? All I remember is from psychology. It's called a schema. So it's kind of like you create these networks in your head to load up memory. So like there'll be a family area in my brain, and then there'll be like a schooling memory or a you know, for lack of a better term,
different schemas.
Mnemonics, like you're associating certain
things. No, it has to do with your experience too, Helen. It's like I have schemas from like world history, and I have schemas from philosophy. It's what your knowledge base is, or for you, because you grew up as a Catholic girl in a Catholic school, you have the Catholic schema built in. So if somebody said something to you about Saint Christopher or something, you would have information in there that maybe not a lot of other people might have.
It's like volumes of an encyclopedia in a way. Yeah, well, that's it.
It is.
I've never heard
and we draw from these schemas in order to make meaning. So,
right. Yeah. So the schema of my mind is the Star Wars universe, because I'm a nerd and I love Star Wars. So so you know, well, at least the first few movies, and then they went all franchising, and then anyways. But that's why I said, Luke, I am your father versus I am your father, right? For the Anyway,
I love the story, girl. Okay. They all share their truth of the experience, but it differs because we internalize things differently. Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Our frame of reference, in other words.
Our frame of reference. That's right.
Yeah, I also feel like an alien being because I don't really connect with a number of things that are extremely popular, like, you know, all the superhero things. I can't, you know. And so people, like you said, that comment about I am your father. I don't think I ever saw that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Be grateful that it didn't suck up that part of your brain.
Yeah.
You've seen this, right? You've seen it? Yeah. Okay. So according to people, they say that whether the Mona Lisa is smiling or not, there's a segment of the world's population that believes her expression has changed over time. I don't see that, but you can kind of see her smiling in this one, I think, but maybe you don't see that.
Well,
Maybe
that's
you-
the whole debate about this
I know.
painting is it's enigmatic and open
Yes.
to interpretation.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why it's popular, not because it's necessarily an attractive picture.
Yeah.
And it's tiny. Have you ever seen it in proportion to the room where it's hanging? I've seen
Yeah.
I've never been there.
I've seen
I've
photos,
seen
yeah.
photographs.
Yeah.
And it's this
Yeah.
little tiny thing.
Yes.
That was what astounded me about it. You know.
All right,
That
so
was monumental.
when you were a
important.
kid, did you read to your
Mm.
kids the Berenstain Bears? Did you read them that? Do you know what that is? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really not their name.
What's their name?
It's the Berenstain Bears. It's STAIN, not STEIN.
EIN. Yeah.
We've always called them the
yeah.
Berenstain Bears, always. But it's the Berenstain Bear.
Oh, I wouldn't have. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
I
my
didn't know
daughter
it either. Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking to my daughter about this last night, and she's, she's a 20-something. Anyway, so she's like, "Mom, I always remembered it as Berenstain Bears. I can't believe it." So we were discussing time slips, and she's in agreement that it's either a
almost
collective memory
destroys you.
thing and combined with, an interpretive dance of understanding of history. Who knows?
Yep.
But yeah, and it's a collective thing. It's really odd. Yeah.
A lot of people remember that there were 4 people in the car. 4 people. Governor Connolly and his wife, and the president and Jackie. But actually, it was a 6-seater. There were 2 people. Yeah, which makes sense because
agents.
this guy. Yeah, they were driving the car.
Yeah.
But they show in a clip very close up together. It looks like there's only 4 people in the car. So these are the silly Mandela effect ideas. And that's why it blows your mind when you find out it's something that you didn't think it was.
It's got to be young people who never lived through the moment, because that was talked about, played, written about.
On that
so
one,
much.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
There ended up being a 7th person when that other Secret Service agent jumped on the back.
Very true. He was walking beside the car. Yeah, I remember that. So, that's what the Mandela effect is, and there are a lot of different things we could look at, but I want to also talk about time slips, and I really do believe that they're very much aligned with each other because of this butterfly effect. That's the name of the movie, but the butterfly effect. I think was it Ashton Kutcher was in that or something. Anyway, he talks about going back. It was a Richard Matheson book, I believe, and I love him. He did Time, the Time movie that I just did with Christopher Reeve and Jane
Time
Seymour.
After Time.
Yeah. No, it was Somewhere in Time. Somewhere in Time. Richard Matheson did that. He did a lot of other stuff because he was a sci-fi writer, and sci-fi writers write in a lot of time slips.
Ray Bradbury wrote a short story about the future.
Yep.
Where there was like those people movers at the airport where the ramp moves and you stand still. Okay, so you got out of your space. I read this in 1966, so forgive me if I'm a little shaky. But you got out of your spaceship and you went onto this pathway, and you had to stay on that pathway because if you did anything, crush a butterfly,
right,
you could change.
Yeah,
you could go back.
You could change time. Right.
It would be, that was the
right.
premise. Yeah.
Yep. So Craig says Ed McMahon never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. He was a spokesman for American Family Publishers and never gave checks out. But, you can kind of remember him being on TV, going up to people and giving them something. So, yeah, that's great, Craig. Thanks for the example. So, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say that, so I subscribed to Gaia channel, and they have a lot of guests and whatnot. And there's this one guy, and who knows? I don't know their background. You have to go based on what they say. I haven't researched him. He's not to be found anywhere other than his first name because he wants anonymity. And he was in the German military.
Universe.
Yeah, but he says some interesting stuff. So he worked in the the dark projects, right? The stuff that is not acknowledged in Germany and Europe. And this is 10 years ago or something. But he actually acknowledged that in one of the interviews there, and I don't know if this is true or not, just putting it out there. He said they can actually view time, and there's multiple timelines. And when you look at a point in time, it's like looking, you know how pine trees look? Imagine looking at the top of a pine tree and looking top down on a pine tree. That's what timelines look like. And that the point in the middle, depending on the agency and the choices that you make in this 3D existence, right? And that's what moves you in the direction of wherever that timeline's supposed to go. And then in this interview, and it's supposed to be amazing, and it's wispy, and it's constantly changing. You know, it's like and I'm like, this is true. This is out of it. And how did they measure that? And do they actually jump in time to fix things? Because there's a lot of things that need fixing now, you know, so it opens up this whole can of worms in my thinking. But if that's really a thing that they can do and actually see and monitor timelines, that's incredible. But who knows? I mean, that would
the multiverse is now becoming more. And actually, I got a book that I'm going to read and talk about the multiverse. But the multiverse means parallel worlds, parallel timelines.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a lot of people that can believe in things they can't see, then why couldn't there be this multiverse, this parallel life?
This is, you know, it's incredibly synchronistic that we're having this conversation. I wasn't expecting this to come up. I just finished doing an interview with Stefan Schwartz for my book that I published the first half of the synopsis today. We'll do the second half next week. I'm going to put his interview up probably tomorrow. And he spent a lot of, let me correct this. He spent a lot of time chastising me for using all the usual metaphysical terminology, energy, space, time, you know, moving into dimension. He goes, no. That all of the qualitative, quantitative, objective data show that what we're really doing is we're tuning in a non-local consciousness to information in the field, and that you're not putting out good vibes, you're not sending love, you're not sending healing, you're not going to a different time period, you're not accessing another dimension. What you're doing is refining your ability to immediately connect. It's an immediacy to connect with kind of the information stew that we exist in. I mean, that's not a
collective consciousness.
I love that, Helen.
And so he says when people do remote viewing, they're not going back in time. They're capable of tuning. I mean, and he would yell at me for this, but tuning into what information is there. Things that have already, you know, how do you even talk about this? Because I almost said things that already happened in the past. How do you talk about it? We don't have the vocabulary or the brain capability. But as best as, I mean, well, he does, but I told him he gave me a headache. As best as I could understand. I swear, I had to take aspirin before the second half of our conversation because I was like, oh God, what is he doing?
That would be mind bending. And I've seen some of his work, and I've actually followed some of that stuff. So I take interest in this too, Helen. So this is really fascinating.
Okay. Well, yeah, because he was the remote viewing guy. He was the remote viewing guy Helen first initially started out talking with. And he's the one that if that's the field of consciousness, that's why they could find the things in Egypt that they were looking for.
So he disputes the Hermetic philosophy, the concept of you elevate to different dimensions and planes. I guess I hate to speak for him because I don't really understand anything he said, really. But we become adept at using our non-local conscience to connect with what's there already.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And that's the space in between when I, you know, my thing that I like, I'm interested in. So everything's right here, right now. Even our
Yeah.
ancestors, you know,
Yeah.
ETs, if
Right.
you want to go that way,
Mhm.
ghosts, all that stuff is enfolded in the things that we can't perceive, like with our 3D entities, our hearing, which is 3D, our vision, our touch, right?
Yes.
But once we use that non-local consciousness to access those things, then absolutely. And that's where, and I think I saw your interview with Bruce Holheim. He said it's the nexus of that space where all these things can occur in simultaneity once you access them. So
What a
I would agree.
remarkable person.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I love
Yeah.
that. I read the book after I saw your podcast. on it.
People out there that are just,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
going to say elevated, but that's dimensional and that doesn't exist.
Well,
You see how hard it is to discuss anything because we're just, you know.
that's true.
We're
We
in the
sound like
infancies of
hokey.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the infancies in our understanding
Infancy
of
of,
it, and
of
it's,
knowing. Yeah. Yep.
and the building blocks of the universe, you know, which is all the quantum sciences, is really trying to take their mathematical models and theories and bringing them to our understanding within the 3D, right? And for people who aren't practiced in that accessing of that kind of consciousness experience that you're just that Stephen Schwartz was talking about, Helen. So yeah.
That whole concept of the field of plasma that we exist in, that we're a part of, that we come from, that we're eventually, you know, you have to really sit and think about it a long time to even get a glimmer of understanding.
Yeah.
Superficially, you know, you can toss, I guess, antiquated or inept terminology around and explain the whole thing. And I do believe that there are a lot of metaphysical authors and speakers who have done a really good job of getting people to even think of the topic at all. I'm thinking Dolores Cannon, because she does talk very much in terms of space and time. You know, I'm going into the past, we're going into the future. Nostradamus is reaching out to the present from the past. When you die, you get taken to higher planes. All of that is sadly inaccurate if you believe the research that Schwartz is quoting. But it does a good job of explaining it for those of us who are still, you know,
the layman,
operating within the context of how little we really know, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and but what's wonderful is the potential right here of a nugget of explaining the things that we've all experienced before, right? That thing that we, you know, so there's a scientific explanation that we aren't going nuts.
Right. Yeah.
That there's actually proof that this is actually a thing that's real, that we're, you know, over time you can learn to access, or some people are born naturally with the gift to be able to access that consciousness, you know, which is really fascinating. What a brilliant time we're in. How cool
it
is
really
that?
is. It really is.
Did either one of you have a sense of this being true, like long in your youth? Well, yesterday in your youth, you know, past that doesn't exist. I always felt like, and I've said for a very, very long time to family and friends, drives them all crazy. Someday science is going to explain all this. None of this is a mystery. It's just our lack of understanding.
We have to find a way to explain.
And it is exciting to beginning to get validation for that.
Absolutely. And if there is no time, if time is not linear, then we're living all these lifetimes and places. But when I was a kid, I remember two things distinctly. The first thing I remember is thinking, what if we didn't have internet, we didn't have any way to get anywhere else. I said, what if my husband lives like in the Midwest or something? How am I ever going to find him? You know, it was like, why do I only have this small area to pull from if I find a partner? And the second thing happened was in 6th grade, they said, who would you like to meet if you could meet anybody? And I said, Abraham Lincoln. And I said, I want to meet him someday. And they thought that was the funniest friggin' thing they ever heard. What? And I really felt like I could. I knew he was dead, but I really did feel like I could meet him. And everybody else just thought I was two shades of cuckoo.
Why?
Just, he's dead. Ha, ha, ha. He's dead. You're never going to meet him.
But it was a hypothetical.
It was a hypothetical, but I really did believe that it could happen.
Because they weren't going to be meeting Paul McCartney, so they could get over that.
Or the monkeys. Yeah.
Would
The
you
monkeys.
now?
Yeah.
Would you say,
Wow.
who would you meet now if you could?
Who would I meet now if I could? Oh, Freddie Mercury.
Oh yeah, that's your
That's my
your
man.
go-to.
Yeah.
He's your
yeah.
man. Yeah, he's
He's my
cool.
man.
I reckon
Yeah.
he'd be really fun to hang out with.
It would be. Yeah.
He'd be fun to go to a party with.
I love this share, Martha, that you said you were told recently you're catching glimpses of the ethereal web. And yeah, look it up because oh, hi, Dawn Marie. It's nice to see you. Do look it up because the ethereal is what? The ethers, the
yeah, heavenly.
yeah.
The nuns used to tell us when we did poetry, oh, the ether, the poet would say the ether.
Right.
And they would say, isn't that quaint? It's so romantic. In the olden days, they believed there was this energy field that connected everybody, but we know that's all just superstition.
That all died. There's this book I'm reading that all died with industrialization, when science became like the religion for people on top, and then it was kind of threatening religion. There was this guy, what's it, Swedenborg?
Yes,
he was and that's a prime example of it. Very spiritual, total industrialist in Sweden. Over time, he wrote the suite of books, and then next thing you know, he's poo-pooed by society because he went woo-woo, in their words. Not their words, but you know what I mean. So he was ostracized for that. So I think that's really quite interesting, and we're still experiencing the hangover of all that.
Yeah,
industrial. Yeah.
Aley, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Can we talk about? I've been just dying to talk about this.
Okay.
Can we talk about Outlander?
Oh, sure.
Are you?
Can I just give you a couple of real world examples, because Outlander is one of my favorite things in the world, so I'd be happy to talk about that.
Okay. So I was almost embarrassed to say the word.
Oh, no.
No.
I've read all 10 books, and I'm waiting for the 11th. So yeah.
Oh, is there another one coming out?
Well, it takes her 3 years to write them. So yeah.
I know. Keeping her,
There you go. But I do want to tell you about two examples. I've heard more than two about time slips.
Okay.
One of them was this fellow. He was talking with Andrew Basaggio, and he said he lives here in Washington State, and they were going across towards Spokane, like down probably through Leavenworth and all that. They went that way, and he said that they saw this really cool diner on the side of the road, on the left-hand side of the road. So they pulled in, he and his sons, and they went into the diner, and they got hamburgers and fries, and the hamburgers were $1.50 and the French fries were 25 cents, and they tasted fabulous. And the kids were thrilled, and it cost them less than $10. It was amazing. And he gets in his car, and they go where they were going to go. And so when they turned around to come home after their trip, the kids said, "Can we please stop at that diner again? I want to get a hamburger and fries again." And the guy's like, "Yeah, it's in my budget." So he goes down the road, and he gets to, to right in the area that diner is, and there's no diner there. So they're like, "What the hell?" So there was a gas station a little further up, and he said to the guy, "We were going to stop at the diner that was here, but I don't see a diner here. What happened?" And the guy said, "Oh, that diner hasn't been there for 40 years. Never was there. Never was." Yeah.
Stephen King wrote a book like that.
I know he has.
About the Kennedy assassination.
I know. 11/22/63, where he goes out through the back of the diner. Yeah. It's a portal. Yeah. But this was a true story. And then there's another one. In Oklahoma, 3 workers were picking up cattle feeder equipment from a farm and noticed a white house on the property. When they came back the next day, the house was not only there was no sign of ever being there, yet all 3 workers saw the same thing the prior day. One possible explanation that the house had existed in a different moment in time. Yeah. And actually I've had somebody else tell me that they have been standing in a window in their house and looking out into the back area of their house and seeing a field and cows and chickens and horses, and those didn't exist today. that they were looking back sort of at the 19th century. Where
What was their reaction?
This person was not afraid at all. I think many of us would go, whoa, you know, creepy.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Well,
Twilight
I would
Zone.
assume I was having a stroke. No, I'm not kidding.
No, I get it, Ellen.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I do. But you know, these are just very small. And I'm sure you've probably heard me talk about Valerie Klingenbeck, who's Dragonfly Crystals.
Yeah.
She goes down to Starbucks to get a chai coffee tea every once in a while. And so she ordered it on her app. She left the house at 10 o'clock. She drove 3 or 4 blocks to the Starbucks. She pulls in, goes inside, picks up her chai, comes back to her car, drives back 3 or 4 blocks, and it's 10 o'clock. What happened? She did all that. That had to have taken at least 20 to 25 minutes to go down, turn around, come back.
I didn't do it. That just defies explanation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It does defy explanation, but I find it to be so fascinating. And people are telling me in the chat when we've talked about some of this at other times that it's happened to them. It has happened. There was somebody, I guess, on Facebook the other day. I just happened to drop in, and they had just written and posted this. Are there such things as time slips? I went to bed on a Friday night, and I know I didn't sleep for 2.5 days, but I woke up on Monday morning, and I don't remember anything in between. Well, you don't sleep that long. You have to pee.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a coma.
I'd love to be able to talk to that person and find out, did they live alone?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
were they up and moving about and other family members saw them, but they don't have recall because they were in an altered state or gone?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Were they abducted?
That's where missing time comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Have you found recently that this is a phenomenon my husband and I have been having, and we're both clear-headed. I mean, it's not a problem in other aspects of our lives, but in the past couple of months, several times separately, one or the other of us will say, I'll make this up, we better get ready and get our minds ready because, you know, we have to go to work in a couple of hours because we work on Friday evenings.
Yes.
And he'll look at me and he'll say, it's Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
And I'm 100% convinced that it's a completely different day. And it doesn't matter earlier or later in the week. I can mistake either direction. I do done the same thing, and not at the same time. That's what's so weird about it. I don't understand. Is that just because we're old and not punching?
Well, you don't work a regular job either. You work. True. And
but
that might be part of it.
Kind of a schedule here at this point.
True. Yeah.
So, you know, it was kind of a lucky thing I didn't miss, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's patterning. It could be patterning, you know, like you're used to behavior and kind of, you know, like you do this Monday, you do this Tuesday, Wednesday, or maybe, you know, after you do this thing, and then you misassign a day to it, right?
Yes.
See what I'm saying?
Today I thought it was Sunday.
Yeah.
I did. I said, this is Sunday, or it's not Sunday.
I'm embarrassed to say how similar my days are.
Oh, mine are too. I think we all collectively experience that. You know. Yeah. I've done that.
That's the old Sisyphus rolling a rock up the hill. You know, every day you got to get up and do the same damn thing. You know.
You mean I have to brush my teeth again?
So Helen, go ahead and introduce us to what you'd like to say about Outlander. I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
Well, I just think it's a wonderful example, and it includes aspects of this topic that we haven't really even gotten into, which is the conscious. Okay, I'll use her terminology from the books, and then maybe we talk about it in a more updated understanding. But it includes the use of crystals and stones to advocate or to precipitate the movement from one time to another. Yeah, Mary Stewart, that book, The Crystal Cave, the whole concept of Merlin
Mhm.
who lived backwards in time in a cave of crystal. And crystals carry energy, but they also
Yes.
carry mathematical encoded patterns, which
Mhm.
is
Yep.
really interesting. And
Yep.
so I have this kind of amorphous sense that there's a relationship between the physics behind that and sacred geometry
Yes.
and the
I agree.
metaphysics of it.
You know that she has a doctorate in biology. Not that that's physics, but she left Arizona State University to just write these fantasy books. And so
Good for
she
her.
really does a lot of research, a lot of
No, they're
research.
historically just
Absolutely
wonderful,
historically
wonderful.
accurate.
And you know what I have? You're going to be so jealous. I got the Outlander knitting book, and it's the patterns of all knitwear that they wear.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Sure.
cool. Awesome. I love it.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't know,
No,
what do
there-
you guys think about this? Because it's such for people who don't know, it's about a young woman, and she's in Scotland, right? She's in the Highlands of Scotland, coming to visit her husband's family home, I think. It's been a while.
No, they were on their honeymoon.
Oh,
weren't
okay.
they?
And
Yeah.
goes for a walk on the moors and ends up going back to the time before the Jacobean, I think it was. So the clans.
Yeah, Culloden and battle at Culloden.
Been
Yeah.
a long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
and just develops a whole life in this separate period of time. But eventually goes back. I won't spoil it. Goes back and forth.
Yeah, she can go back and forth. Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating. And the other thing about it is that she goes through the stones, and they are stones. They're like the stones at Stonehenge,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of magic that's in that book, a lot of talk of magic and a lot of magical things that happen. And I really do sense that this is why people even believe in magic, because things do change. They alchemize. It doesn't. It's just nowadays, I think it's more here than it is physical. It's not like on Star Trek when you stand in the thing and you get your whole body to go. It's more like the mind can go, body's here.
I've heard that magic, and I put it in the comments, magic is unexplained science.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with technology and now with machine learning and all this kind of stuff, the rapid changes in our understanding of the unexplained is going to be, we're just going to revelation after revelation, especially like CRISPR technology and what they're doing with that, and all these things that are happening, especially with our understanding of the quantum realms. So I would totally, I think time is an act and a construct that we as 3D beings just have to have. I reckon, when you're in the dream state, what does time matter?
Yeah,
there
it's
is
relevant.
No
yeah.
Yeah.
And you defy those sorts of three-dimensional things. Like you can float. You can suddenly go through a wall or whatever. Yeah.
Well, it's great.
Stefan would say that there's this non-local consciousness, and that's what's really going on, and that actually agrees with enormous numbers of philosophical frames of reference and religious belief systems, and
the Matrix. If you watch that movie,
no.
Oh, you should.
Yes. That's mind blowing.
It's great. Times, and I got sick exactly at the same point each time.
Really?
I cannot tolerate Keanu Reeves. Sorry.
That's okay.
I can't watch it.
That's
I thought it dragged. The beginning of it dragged so much, I lost interest. And I don't like action films or anything, but I need some character development.
Okay, got it.
And
there's another one too that's with I can't think of who's in it, but he's holding a coin or something, and the coin, when the coin is this way, that he's in this time, and his coin is this way, he's in this time.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
I can't remember the name of it, but it was, and then you really don't know at the very end which one he's in. You still don't know. It's ambiguous, which is fine.
Well, there's that concept of parallel universes, that every choice you make splits off another potential existence.
Yes.
For every little thing in there's millions of you, going in that. But that presupposes dimensionality and
Yep.
linear time. And so it's a way that we can understand accessing all these different possibilities, but they all exist in the field, essentially.
So let me ask you this, Helen. This is an interesting question. If you can accept the fact that we make sacred contracts with whoever at the very beginning, and we come down here with a certain thing to do and all that, then we also have come down here with different timeline endings, and we can make the choice to end it now or 3 years from now, whatever it is. Do you believe in that concept?
I do. I think that we come with a blueprint, a framework, and we come with a plan, an agenda of what we need to learn, just to use that word. It's got to do with spiritual development, evolution, right? And that doesn't remove the possibility of free will, because we're presented with choices all along the path. And we all end up in the same place anyway. How you get there?
We do. Just have a circuitous path.
It's just impossible. But the lessons that we need to learn, right? We make choices constantly, taking us in one direction or another. I'm sorry, I give up. But
that's okay.
There are moments that we have pre-planned that, well, if I'm ready to bail out at this point, I will. But I don't have to. And then there does come a time.
It's like that idea of the pine tree looking down on that Anne talked about, where there's down here, it's sort of nebulous. It's like, I don't know where I'm going to go, which way I'm going to go. Anne, do you think so too?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that will say, actually, even my husband, he was in the hospital. And when he was in the hospital, he thought he had an NDE. I mean, it wasn't real.
Oh, wow.
But he believes that it was a timeline. He could have said, okay, this could have been a timeline for him, but he rallied and it wasn't. Interestingly, though, his brother did leave very shortly after that.
Oh,
and so it's almost like they had a timeline that was very close to each other.
They shared,
similar,
a similar lifespan, because karma, people that you're related to, or that you connect with, even casually, the guy on the bus, that kind of thing. You have some karmic connection.
You absolutely do. We don't meet anybody by accident. Nobody.
No, I reckon that we both
feel it. Haven't you guys had you meet somebody and you're like, oh, I recognize you, and I don't know why, but
yes.
I don't assume I've met you in this lifetime ever. I always think,
that's okay, warrior girl.
But there's a vibe or a connection, that kind of gut level, and that you can feel when you connect with somebody like that.
And you could look at it that it's a knowing, because you're more easily, your consciousness is more easily connecting to the information about that contact. Shared information.
Shared,
But
and Jay and Warrior Girl, thanks for letting us know. The movie was called Inception. If you're interested in that movie,
Inception. With the coin.
With the coin thing, I think it's a coin. Yeah,
or
it's something that's in his hand that he carries.
Keanu Reeves is not in it, is he?
I don't think Keanu's in this one. No, I want to say. I don't think it's Justin Timberlake. I can't remember who it is.
You're the first person I've ever met, Helen, who doesn't like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I know. I think he's quite a nice guy.
Yeah, there's this whole cult personality about him. I mean, there's this whole thing.
Yes, there is.
Anesthetized.
No, he's very spiritual. He gives all his money away. He's very kind.
I don't know anything about him personally. I'm not judging him by personality. I'm judging him by just a persona. I
get it. I don't like Jennifer Lawrence. I can't watch her at all. She drives me crazy. But Julia I have a reason. Yeah.
Maybe that's your intuitive sense, just connecting to something that we don't perceive. I mean, remember, perception is about.
She tripped getting an Oscar, and it was funny the first time, but when she did it the second year in a row, it was like, come on, lady.
Oh, did she?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's.
I didn't know she did it second year. I just thought she was silly the first time, and I didn't know. It was just a successive thing. So, okay. Whatever.
That's her shtick.
Oh
that's
yeah, Leo
hilarious.
DiCaprio. Oh, he was the one that was in it, Craig? Leonardo? Was he in the Inception? I don't know, but if you get a chance to watch Killers of the Flower Moon, I really recommend it. It's very, very good.
Yeah,
And
I've read
yeah,
the book, and
yeah,
I've heard that it's excellent.
it is very good. It is very good.
I'd
Yeah.
like to recommend a book, a movie, since we're talking about
All
movies.
right.
This came to mind, and I've been really pushing it. It's called Amsterdam.
Oh,
And
okay.
it has the most interesting cast of characters from maybe it wasn't Chris Rock. I might be conflating it with Fargo. but Amsterdam is a wonderful, wonderful movie. And Robert, what's his name? Oh my God.
De Niro? No?
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Robert De Niro plays this true figure. It's based on historical fact, but it's fictionalized,
Okay.
And at the very end of the book, the movie, they play a juxtaposition of the role he does and the real filming.
Oh,
film. Yeah, and
Maestro
it's
is like that. Yeah.
like he
And
was
so is,
channeling
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But there's a character in there. Tell me what you think. So there's this character in there that's a very unimportant character. It's a young woman, and she kind of is there for a while and gone, and she's not all that germane to the plot. But I kept thinking, God, why does she look so? This is the worst actress. Who is she? She looks so familiar. So I went and looked it up, even while the movie was on, because it was driving me crazy. Taylor Swift.
You're kidding? She's in the movie? Oh my goodness.
She
Wow.
plays this unimportant character.
Oh,
and
okay.
I thought she looked kind of familiar, but it's a period piece. So they're in 1940s, 1950s clothes,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just pulled it up on Google. I'm having a look at the synopsis. Well,
Fabulous
yeah.
movie. Fabulous.
Okay.
movie.
Margot Robbie's in it. Christian Bale, John David Washington, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, very good.
Cool. Awesome. I have to check it out.
Yeah, it's really good.
So it is
Awesome.
almost up on top of the hour, believe it or not. We've
You're
talked
kidding.
a lot. No, not kidding. No, it goes
We're
fast.
gas baggers. That's what they call it in New Zealand. Gas baggers. It's like taking a bag of gas and just talking.
Time
Yeah.
slip.
Yeah, we're having a time slip. Well, that was my point. It's like, should we come back another time? And once it's in your awareness, I've told my students this. I said, find a topic you wanted to write a paper on. Once you put that into your awareness, you will see it everywhere. And they're like, no. Well, yes, it's like if you're pregnant, you see all the pregnant ladies.
Took the
If
words
you have
out
a
of my
Volkswagen,
mouth.
you always see another Volkswagen.
Yes.
So if we can
Mhm.
put this whole idea of either the Mandela effect or the time slip into our consciousness, or as Stefan says, into that bigger.
If we could just connect to the truth about our relationship to reality.
Yeah.
And those are the terms that we have to nurture and develop and try to understand. And it's very challenging. I mean, I get a headache right here in the center.
That's your third eye, girl.
Yeah,
Your third eye.
I know,
Yeah.
exactly. And I don't get headaches, but it's like,
know.
oh God, that urge to push here.
Yes,
That's,
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, you'll laugh at this. I was taking a class in psychic development, and with Medium Kim. This is a couple of years ago, and she loves elephants. So we're sitting there, and she's like, "I want you to open up your third eye. So I want you to imagine that there's an elephant pushing itself through here to open you up." Well, we all had such headaches after that, because I said, couldn't it be like a snail, or couldn't it be like a peanut or an elephant?
But that's it's effective. That's incredible.
That's incredible. Yeah.
That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, Craig, that damn penny. That was a great movie, Somewhere in Time. Actually, this is where a lot of my time travel fascination comes from stories and movies like that. I can't get enough of it. And that's why when Diana Gabaldon has a new book come out, I've got to watch it. But I've got to read it. But I always am a book reader first and foremost before I am the film person.
Yeah.
And I remember people complaining about, oh, they didn't say this in there and this and that. you have to look at them as separate units.
Yes.
They're two different things totally.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story related to that. I loved the movie Chicago.
Mhm.
Not particularly in love with any of the cast. So, you know, I don't always judge. Loved the movie Chicago. So through a series of unbelievable events, I ended up in New York City and without children, and I could go to anything I wanted to go to. And here is Chicago on Broadway. So I was so excited, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So disappointing because it was very Bob Fosse. It was a minimalist set.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh gosh.
Leotard, black
Yeah.
leotards like
Oh.
tuxes, you know,
Yeah.
with top hats. But they all sat on 3-legged stools, no sets behind them, no costumes. I was bitterly disappointed. You really do have to take each thing as a separate creative expression. Yeah.
Very, very true, Helen. Very true.
Definitely.
Anything else you want to say before we leave, Anne? I'll give you both the floor for.
No, it's just really love the collaboration with these beautiful people here and everybody in the community. It's really lovely to see you all, and I love it. It's really cool. We have to get together again, I reckon.
We will. You know we will. Well, as long as we don't have all these problems. But if we do, I'm going to give them to Helen. She's a solver. Yeah, she's solver.
If time permits, right?
Anything
technically, I am in your future. Technically, I am in the future.
Oh, right.
So,
Very true.
Yeah.
We are.
It's already Sunday somewhere on the globe. That's right. It is. Yeah. Helen? Anything, Helen? No? Anything else?
Well, I just want to thank you.
Oh, sure.
Introducing me to Anne, for inviting me to your channel, for letting me
Uh-huh.
rant and rave. There's nothing I like better.
We
on
love it.
Saturday
Oh.
morning.
Absolutely. I love
It's
it.
been so much fun, and I don't think we even began to scratch the surface.
No, we didn't. We
No,
didn't.
we
I
haven't.
mean, this is a very big topic, but I guess I'm going to say look out for what you want to say next time, because I think we're going to find more either articles or you're going to hear more, and we'll be able to have an even different conversation.
Crazy how that happens, right?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody in the chat. Thank you for your comments and for spending time with us. Have a beautiful
so much.
Saturday. Yeah.
And Sunday.
Oh, come back and see Helen and Anne on Sherry's channel today. They're having a Mardi Gras party. How wonderful. Yeah.
It's in about 3 hours. So, okay. Lots of love, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Bye-bye.